So, good evening, everyone. So here I have probably 15 slides in this deck, and all I'm going to try to do here is explain the singularity equation, right? Number of people ask me questions, when I describe about flat coin. So here I want to distill the whole content or everything about flat coin into um, this slide, right? The math behind it. So I call this equation P of alpha equal to C divided by 1 minus alpha. So we'll see how we get to this formula. Yeah. So here's the question. If a token has a fixed supply and you permanently lock more and more of it away in a vault, what happens to the price? Now, not what you think happens, but what must happen mathematically. And we are going to derive that mathematically. So if I were to say, for example, 5 plus 3 equal to 8, I will not have a debate because no matter who I am, it is true. So before we go into all the details, first we need to agree on few fundamental truths, right? And these are all enforced via smart contracts on Ethereum, but that's not really important right now. I'm just want to focus on the math. Look at me as your high school math teacher, nothing beyond that. Yeah. So the total supply of tokens that we use in Flatcoin, which represents the equity in the protocol, is fixed. It is fixed to 425 million RISE tokens. And each RISE token basically represents equity in the protocol. Yeah. So now, by design, we have two parts. So all of the supply is either locked inside a vault, which is a ERC26 token, or it is circulating in the market. So that means either it is frozen in the way of by moved into a vault, or it is circulating. So that means that is changing hands between the people. It is liquid. So the circulating supply is what gives value to any token. So here, what we're talking about is, so all of the circulating tokens of RISE, they are broken down into two parts. Either they are circulating in the hands of people or it is in the vault. It cannot be anywhere else because the ones in the vault are not going to join the circulating supply. So this basically leads to this equation. S equal to the ones which are in the vault plus what is circulating amongst people. It's just regular accounting, nothing complicated. Yeah. So I'm going to define a variable which is called the number of tokens that are in the vault divided by the total supply. So that means as time goes on, the protocol is buying tokens and putting it into a vault. So by doing it, the only thing that is really changing every day is the value of S vault, because capital S is a fixed number. It's never going to change. S vault is the only variable in this equation. So when alpha is equal to 50%, so that means 50% of the supply is locked inside of vault. When alpha is 90%, so that means S vault is 90% of S, then it is 90% locked, basically. So if you define alpha as a fraction of the tokens, then the circulating is basically, if you convert the previous equation and substitute for alpha, then you get circulating supply is nothing but S times 1 minus alpha. Again, basic algebra here. Now we all know that market cap identity, right? This is today the total supply of bitcoins is around 19.8 million tokens, and the price is at 69,000. So therefore, the market cap is so and so, more than $1 trillion, right? So if you look at the total circulating shares of Apple and multiply by the market price, then you get a market cap. Basically, circulating supply is what is multiplied by price is what gives you the circulating market cap value. So if 212.5 million tokens are circulating and each one trades at $1, which is what happens for say tokens, then the market cap is called 212.5 million tokens. Dollars, sorry, because we are multiplying with dollar. Now let's derive the equation. It's only 4 steps. Step 1, start with the definition of market cap. Market cap is nothing but price multiplied by circulating supply. And if you multiply these two, you get market cap. Pretty simple. It is true for any asset. You can take any stock, or you can take any crypto asset. You multiply the circulating supply with the price, you get market cap. This is true in stocks, commodities, probably not commodities, but anything which has a measurable circulating supply. Now, step 2, simply divide that equation by total supply. So left hand side, this is the equation. So circulating supply divided by S and market cap divided by S. That's all I'm doing in this formula. And circulating supply divided by S is nothing but a fraction of the supply is still circulating, which is nothing but 1 minus alpha, right? This comes from our previous definition I just talked about 2 slides ago. So circulating supply divided by S, I can replace it with 1 minus alpha. And market cap divided by S, I can replace it with a constant. Because this is a constant, S is a total supply, which is constant. Market cap just varies with price. So therefore, I can divide this as a singularity constant. So by dividing by S, both alpha and C appear naturally from the algebra, right? So I can basically replace circulating supply divided by S as 1 minus alpha, and I call this side of the equation equal to C. So price times the fraction still circulating equals the singularity constant, which basically follows from basic algebra so far. Now step 4, if you solve P times 1 minus alpha equal to C, then if you divide both sides by 1 minus alpha, you get price equal to C divided by 1 minus alpha. So this is the singularity equation. Basically, what this is saying is the price of this token is directly dependent on the value of alpha. So, and it also tells you that it is not dependent on anything else. That is the spectacular part. So P is equal to C divided by 1 minus alpha. So far, that is how we derive the equation up to now. Yeah. So the price of one rice token equal to singularity constant C divided by the fraction of the supplies that is still circulating. Again, this is the equation that drives the price. You don't have any assets in the real world, let it be Bitcoin, stocks, Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, and all kinds of stocks, all kinds of equities all over the world, bonds. None of them are able to say that their price is only dependent on one variable. That doesn't happen in real world. Uh, so let's plug in the numbers. If that is the parabola, now you look at the absorption numbers. On day one, when we launch this pool on Uniswap, it starts with alpha equal to 50 or 0.5. So the price on that day is C divided by 1 minus alpha. When it calculates, it comes to 1. And when it goes to 90%, now you put that number in, 1 minus alpha is 0.9. So therefore you get 0.1. And when you divide that number, you get $5. Right? And then when it goes to 99%, now 1 minus alpha is 0.01 and you get $50, so on and so forth. So as time goes on, you notice that when the number goes up from 99% to 99.9%, which is, if you look at that jump, which is just almost barely even 1%, but look at the impact on the price, which is going from $50 to $500, a tenfold jump. Yeah? So as the alpha gets closer and closer, so the denominator gets smaller and smaller, the division gives you basically reaches towards infinity. So if you take that formula of P of alpha equal to C over 1 minus alpha, if you actually track that as a variable, price versus the absorption ratio on the x-axis and price on the y-axis, what you're going to notice is that it takes this path. It has a deterministic path. So that means once it climbs this path, its price is supposed to go in that path only. It cannot just go where, if the equation is basically driven by where the alpha is, it is not dependent on anything else. And that is the important part, at least to me, is right now when you're at 50% absorption ratio, we're almost at the very slow part of the curve. And once you cross 90%, the path is going to be crazier and crazier. Every 1% would have such a huge impact on the price, because notice the shape of the curve. It just goes up violently as it goes higher. Yeah, and that's what makes this very different. And you need to understand save token from first principles of mathematics. So as in calculus, we write this as alpha tends to 1, automatically C divided by 1 minus alpha will basically approach infinity. The denominator goes to 0, the price goes to infinity. This is not a prediction, this is not a model. This is what the equation says. And so you think infinite price needs infinite money. It doesn't. So if you take circulating market cap, that is basically equal to price times S circulating. We know that price can be substituted by C divided by 1 minus alpha. And circulating supply we can represent as S times 1 minus alpha. So therefore 1 minus alpha basically cancels out, right, from the denominator and numerator. What is left is C times S is constant. So that means the singularity constant times supply is constant. So price goes up 1000x, supply goes down 1000x automatically. It just derives from math. So here is the table. Basically, that's what we are trying to show here. Is when you start, the price starts with $1. Circulating supply is 212 million, and then as it goes down, notice when this goes down, the market cap can still remain the same, but price has to go up because the circulating supply would have shrunk down to 2 million or 21,000 or 212. Once the circulating supply comes down to 212, the price has to reach even $1 million, while the market cap still remains the same. So why this matters? So what did we prove today? What we're proving today is that the price of this token SAVE is purely a function of absorption and nothing else. I think the part nothing else has to be emphasized a lot. So if you look at anything in the world today, anything, when I say anything, any asset in the world, if you take gold, for example, it depends on literally 100 different factors. The central banks buying it, supply demand, and how much it is used for jewelry consumption. All sorts of variables will determine the price. If you think of the value of Apple stock or the price of Apple stock, where it is going to be a year from now, I would say there are literally 100 variables: supply chain problems. You could think of you know their ability to raise capital, their ability to manufacture, their ability to capture uh, market share, their cash flows, balance sheets, a million things literally. But what the math is saying for us, for flat coin here, is that if you purchase SAVE token, it does not care if there is a third world war happening or if the Bitcoin price dropped. None of those things matter. The price is going to follow the path of parabola, and there is no other force that can change it. That's the very interesting part, which is kind of counterintuitive for someone to absorb. So as more and more tokens get locked, the price must rise. It's not optional. It just comes from math. We have removed everything else. It's not even optional. It must rise. And even if there is no new capital coming into the protocol is buying these tokens every 12 seconds. And the first formula which I talked about is total supply is equal to circulating supply plus supply in the vault, right? Does it care? I mean, that formula is not going to change um, whether Trump puts some new tariffs, or if we have a recession, or if we have a bear market, or Bitcoin dropped by 50%. None of those things appear in that equation. The equation is simply driven by the absorption ratio. Everything else is out. It does not even care about market sentiment. It only cares about the alpha, right? And that's what is very remarkable about flat coin. And I'm trying for you to understand here who I am is really irrelevant. If right now, if my dog walked up to me and it drew those same equations, what I showed you just now, price equal to C divided by 1 minus alpha, it would still be true. In place of me, if there is an octopus or if there is a cat which explain these steps, it still would be true. It can be independently verified by any human being because um, we all agree on mathematics. So you would reach the same conclusions. So if you ask 100 people to predict the price of Apple stock, even 10 days, 1 year from now, you will have 100 different values. But when it comes to this, everyone would agree to one single value where the price should be automatically. So what is difference? That is the difference between math and opinion. So what the Apple price is going to be 1 year from now is just an opinion. What the price of Bitcoin is going to be 1 year from now, just an opinion. But what is the price of SAVE token exactly 1 year from now? It's not an opinion. It's math. So you don't need to trust the teacher. That's the point, right? I could be a cat and all of this would still be true. You only need to check the algebra. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about the constant market cap paradox. And subscribe if you believe in math.